Hello there, I'm Alan Parsons, and this is my trusty assistant and technical wizard, Noah. We're going to walk you through the basic functions of a plugin that we've developed with PSP. We call it the Wobbler. It's based upon a piece of technology from way back in the 70s, designed by a guy called Keith Adkins, who was a technical engineer at Abbey Road. And he designed a box he referred to as the Frequency Translator. The Wobbler attempts to emulate all the properties of the Frequency Translator. So we're going to give you a little demo of the plugin.
So here we are in Pro Tools. As you'll see, we've got a couple of audio examples. Right here at the top, I've got some background vocals. You can take a listen to that without anything on them. So a very nice, airy background vocal. And here's our PSP Wobbler. And so I've got it set just at a good preset here that we'll probably save as a preset. And this is similar to the type of sound Alan would have gotten on The Dark Side of the Moon when he used a similar box. So let's hear it with the Wobbler engaged. So you'll see the pulse go here, and that kind of indicates the wobble, and that can be controlled here by the rate knob. And so if I play that back again and sweep through, you can get to some pretty extreme or some pretty low wobbles there.
The reason we chose female backing vocals, oohs and ahs like that, is because that's where we used it to great effect on The Dark Side of the Moon, on the backing vocals on the song called Time. So we've done a lot of experiments with female vocals. It sounds pretty good on some other instruments too, guitars and so on.
Yeah, so let's take a listen to what it could do for a guitar. So this is just a Telecaster playing a couple chords. And so this is what it sounds like without it. Pretty standard guitar. And then if I add the wobbler, gives a really nice effect. And then to add even more extremity to it, we can add feedback. And you can hear that starts to really get into some luscious kind of warbles, if you will, very whooshy. And that's a big part of that sound that Alan got, is the feedback.
You might say that it's reminiscent of what a phaser would do, but it's much more extreme. It's much more controllable, and I think a deeper effect than any phaser I've ever heard. So we're pretty pleased with it.
Definitely. And we have some other functionality within the plugin here that I'll just touch on. So we have this kind of age knob here, which is essentially like a little bit of filtering and a little bit of degradation to the sound to get closer to what it would have been like in the 70s. It's quite subtle, but you can hear kind of just roll off the whole top and bottom. It'll probably be easier to hear on the background vocals, actually. So let's take a listen there. As well as this drive circuit to give it some of that crunch and harmonic coloration that would have probably been introduced in the original box. So that's a nice added touch. And then over here, the wobble knob is actually essentially a mix knob. And so without any, it's basically the original signal. And then at 50 here in the center, this is actually half frequency translated and half the original signal. And that's what really gives you the wobble effect, is having the frequency translated, transposed, whatever you want to call it, with the original signal. And actually beyond the 50%, you're getting more of the frequency shifted signal. So if I get a good amount, you can start to hear now essentially it's kind of pitching it up, but it's actually frequency shifting it up. So you can hear if I do all the way up and all the way down, it's a bit different of a note that she's hitting.
Actually makes it sound slightly out of tune, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which is what you'd expect, because
Right.
the frequency is behaving differently to the higher frequency and the lower frequency of the audio input. So
yeah, it can give you some interesting characterizations and things.
one thing that that Noah actually suggested in the early stages was to be able to synchronize it to the tempo of a song, and we can show you how that works. We can choose 16th notes, 8th notes, quarter notes, whatever, in relation to the tempo of a song.
Yeah, so we've been right here listening in and using the rate mode, but if we switch over to the note mode, you'll see this changes over to a note value. And if you click into this drop down, then we can select an 8th note. And this is all based on your session tempo. And so we can get an 8th note, swap it to a 16. So you can sync right to whatever it is you're looking to match.
And then, of course, any changes that you do while it's actually running can be recorded and repeated as part of the automation process.
Of course, everything here is automatable. And then I thought, if I were to do this, I'd probably want to switch from an 8th note to a 16th note, but I wouldn't want it to necessarily like snap to it like we just heard. It kind of just jumped to it. So I suggested that we add like a ramp speed, or a glide is what we're calling it. So if I increase this, you'll see if I play the 8th note and switch it to the 16th note, it'll slowly ramp up to get to the 16th note. Take a listen. And back down, which gives you a nice kind of easy transition rather than a hard break into the next section. But yeah, that's a nice little feature. And the more you turn up the glide, the slower it'll get to your destination. And if you have it all the way down, then it'll basically go instantaneously.
Well, that's the basics of the wobbler. Hope you enjoy playing with it, because we certainly have enjoyed developing it. So take care. Nice to see you all.
Thanks.